Hello and welcome to another edition of Weather or Not. A welcomed warm-up has arrived in the region, but it won't be here for long. Jill will have the details in her forecast, and Brad takes us to Tussey Mountain to learn about snowmaking. All of this, plus nature in the news and more, Weather or Not starts now. And welcome again to this edition of Weather or Not. I'm your host, Tyler Jankoski.
And I'm your forecaster, Jillian Bohenek.
The 40s have never felt better. It was nice to actually walk around today and see the snow melting. There's even brown snow now on the side. So is that a sign of things to come, or are there more tricks in the bag later next week?
Well, the temperatures have been nice today, and they will be nice for the next few days. But don't get your hopes up. It won't be lasting for very much longer.
Not very happy to hear that, but we'll find out more in your forecast coming up. For now, though, nature in the news. The Winter Olympics come to a close this weekend in Sochi, Russia. The location of this year's Olympics isn't the best for cold, dry air. In fact, Sochi lies on the eastern shore of the Black Sea. Various athletes competing in the games have complained about soft snow and poor conditions, including New Hampshire's own Bodie Miller. Miller said, quote, "It's a completely different race course," end quote, after days of 50-degree temperatures softened the snow. Now, Olympic organizers knew well ahead of time that Sochi's climate isn't ideal for Winter Games. That's why they stockpiled snow last year. Advisors from the Finnish company Snow Secure had planners stockpile 500,000 cubic meters of snow in 10 different shady spots high in the mountains. Approximately half of that snow melted over the summer, as expected. That's why Midland, Michigan-based SMI, or Snow Machines, Inc., was hired to engineer the snowmaking system at Sochi. The company installed 160 Super Polecat and Puma model snowmakers at the games. The system is fully automated by SMI's Smart Snow software and can flow 12,000 gallons of water per minute.
This winter is far from over, but it is already clear that long-range temperature forecasts failed miserably. The Climate Prediction Center at NOAA forecasts an above-normal December, January, and February period for the entire Northeast, and even the central part of the country. In reality, the 3-month period from November to January turned out to be below average for most of the eastern half of the country. Mike Halpert, acting director of the Climate Prediction Center, admitted that the forecast wasn't one of the center's best. He says the center grades its forecast using the Heidke skill score. 100 equals perfection, while -50 is worse than a monkey throwing a dart. The seasonal forecast for the period from November to January, which was issued last October, came in with a skill score of -22. There is some better news, though. The temperature forecast for the period beginning in December and ending in February is being scored around a 0 now that the period is almost in the books. On the scale from -50 to 100, that is a slight improvement over the November to January forecast.
Last week, ice cover on the Great Lakes neared a level not seen in more than a decade. On February 13th, the Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory at NOAA reported that ice cover had reached 88.4%. Not since 1994 has the number been higher, when the ice cover peaked that year at 90.7%. Now, the last 4 winters have averaged less than 40% ice coverage, and the long-term average is around 50%. Lake Erie, which borders Pennsylvania, had the greatest extent of ice cover, with nearly 96% of the lake's surface frozen over. The deepest of the Great Lakes, Lake Ontario, had the least amount of ice cover at only 41%. This is because warmer water from deep underneath the surface upwells and dramatically slows the cooling process near the surface. With a warmer air mass now over the region, total ice cover has dropped to 85%, most recently measured on February 18th. However, that is still comparable to the mid-February reading from 1979, the year with the most ice cover since reliable monitoring began in 1973. After this brief warm-up, though, more Arctic cold makes a return next week, and that means the ice cover may make a run at the 1979 record. Jill is here now with more on the forecast.
Well, thank you, Tyler. We do have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. We do have a high-pressure system moving in on Thursday, and behind that high-pressure system, we have a cold front, and that cold front's going to start pushing through into Friday, which is going to bring us some moderate rainfall earlier on Friday. But by the time the afternoon rolls around, that'll start to push off and dry us out for the rest of Friday and into Saturday as well. That high pressure system will be off to our south and east on Saturday, but that'll still be pulling in those warmer temperatures. So both Friday and Saturday we'll start to see highs anywhere between 5 and 10 degrees above the average temperature, which is about 40 degrees for this time of year. And now you'll see off to our west, we do have another cold front that's going to be pushing through into Sunday. So by the time Sunday rolls around, we are going to start to see those temperatures start to drop. So just a few degrees below average, but then by early next week, we are going to start to see those temperatures drop even further. And now we're going to take a look at the European model. This is just one model's opinion, but this will give us a general idea of what's going to be happening over the next couple of days. As you can see, we do have that rain band on Friday. By the time Friday afternoon rolls around, that will be off to our east. But then again, we do have some colder temperatures that are going to be moving in just on Saturday morning. This blue is going to start pushing in on Saturday. That blue represents temperatures below the freezing mark, so we will have a chilly morning on Saturday, but by the early time afternoon on Saturday, we will start to see those temperatures start to pick up and move into those upper 40s. But then again, on Sunday, we do have that cold front that will be pushing in early, so cold temperatures are expected for Sunday morning. We will see those temperatures below freezing, but then again, early on Sunday afternoon, those will start to moderate, so we will see temperatures in the upper 30s on Sunday. But then on Monday, those cold temperatures start to creep in once again, and as you notice, by Monday night, temperatures have not gone above the freezing mark. And then on Tuesday, we will have the same story again, and that will continue throughout most of next week. And now we will take a look at your weekend forecast. Again, on Friday, we will have some moderate rainfall. Highs will be around 47 degrees, so again, pretty nice as compared to what it was earlier on this week. Friday night, it will be dry as that rain will start to move out early Friday afternoon. Clouds will build in Friday night, but that chilly temperature will start to continue into Saturday, but then again, Saturday, those temperatures will start to pick up beginning in the afternoon. That cold front will move in Saturday night into Sunday, so temperatures are going to start to drop into Sunday. So we are looking at a high of 37 on Sunday.
When you hit the slopes on a winter day, you want to ski on the best snow possible. And while Mother Nature has certainly seemed to provide that this winter at least, that isn't always the case in central Pennsylvania. In fact, running a ski mountain is especially challenging here in Happy Valley because reliable natural snow isn't a guarantee every winter.
With an average of just 45 inches of natural snow each year, snowmaking is a must here at Tussey Mountain in Boalsburg.
Just ask Bennett Hoffman, the mountain's operations manager.
A big part of our operation in the winter is our snowmaking operations. And obviously, as you can see, especially in the last, you probably know better than me, but 10 years, we wouldn't be open without, machine-made snow.
Turning hundreds of gallons of water into snow each minute, the snow guns are responsible for most of the snow you see on the mountain. When the air gets cold enough, Tussey tries to make as much snow as they can, so that they're ready for a rainy day, if you will.
Starting to mound up the snow a lot, blowing huge mounds, because we had got 3 new machines last year that have onboard compressors that really pump a very large volume of snow, and we were trying to really build a surplus, if you will, of snow in certain areas, then our groomers can push it around.
Before Tussey can even fire up the lifts, they need the right conditions to run the snow guns. And temperature isn't the only important thing.
We run under a wet bulb scenario, wet bulb temperature, which is a combination of dew point, humidity, and temperature.
Wet bulb temperature is based on the concept that an energy transfer from the air is required to evaporate water. When you transfer energy from the air, you lower its temperature. If enough water is evaporated, the air eventually becomes saturated and reaches its wet bulb temperature, which is the coldest it can get through this process. Thus, when the air is drier, it can get colder because more water can be evaporated into it. Conversely, moist air just can't cool down as much.
So you could have a day or a night which in the low teens, but if the humidity and dew point are too high, we cannot make snow.
Over the past decade, management has learned not to count on perfect winter weather. They've diversified their offerings and are trying to become an all-season destination. They hope that their restaurant and pub, summer concerts, and new zip line will attract guests all year long.
You do the best you can, the capacity you can run in the winter, but we realize that the way the winters have been, that you have to have year-round operations, to pay the bills and to keep your people working. So the industry, it's really about diversification of the unknown.
Of course, snow sports remain their main focus, and this winter's cold weather has certainly helped them along their way.
So while the recent Arctic blast may have had you shivering, the folks here at Tussey Mountain in Boalsburg are happy that it's led to an epic snow season. For Weather or Not, I'm Brad Gay.
Well, thank you, Brad, for that cool story. But on the flip side, we are in the midst of a bit of a warm-up, but we'll talk about that in just a second. We did have that high-pressure system move in on Thursday, but behind that high-pressure system, we had a cold front, and that's going to be pushing into Friday, which is going to bring us some moderate rainfall throughout the day on Friday. Luckily, it won't be lasting too long, as that rainfall will start to dissipate by about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, but we still have those warmer temperatures to make up for that rainfall. Saturday, we will see the temperatures around 48 degrees. Will it hit that 50-degree mark? I guess we'll have to find out and see on Saturday, but we will have mostly sunny skies. And then finally, Saturday night into Sunday, we will have another cold front start to move in on Sunday, which is going to start dropping the temperatures into next week. As you can see here, we do have those purples and blues, which represents the cold temperatures. They're starting to move in into our area starting early next week, and that will continue throughout the week next week. So we will see temperatures starting to drop into the 20s once again, but luckily by the end of next week we will start to see temperatures moderate. And now we are going to take a look at your extended 5-day forecast. Again, we are going to be back to the deep freeze. High temperatures on Monday will be in about the mid-20s, and then Tuesday they will go up just a little bit, but then they'll start to drop once again on Wednesday, as we will see start to see temperatures go down into the low 20s like we have been seeing. But then again, like I said, by the end of next week we will start to see things look up.
Well, Jill, we just can't catch a break around here. Another deep freeze in the forecast.
Yes, unfortunately, the warmer temperatures that we've been seeing aren't going to be lasting very long.
Well, that brings us to this week's Weather Whiz Quiz. Earlier in the show, we asked you, when was the last time State College failed to hit 50 degrees in January or February? Is it A, 2005, B, 1968, C, 2010, or D, 1986? The answer, Jill, is actually B, 1968. So it has been many, many years since we haven't hit 50 degrees in either January or February. Now, the interesting thing is we haven't yet hit 50 this year in 2014, and I saw in your forecast the high was 48 on Saturday. So what's the chance we hit 50?
Well, that's right. We are going to be seeing temperatures creeping towards that 50-degree mark. It is going to come quite close, but we'll just have to wait and see if it actually does hit that 50-degree mark.
It'll be certainly interesting on Saturday afternoon to see if we actually hit 50. That is all, though, for this week's edition of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Tyler Jankoski.
And I'm your forecaster, Jillian Bohenek.
Have a great night.